Since 2021, the Amarillo Police Department has responded to over 6,000 domestic violence calls per year, with the department seeing a slight decline in domestic violence calls from 2023 to 2024. And with thousands of domestic violence calls per year, it poses the questions: what is APD doing to address domestic violence in the community, and how can the community help? With over 6,000 domestic violence calls each year since 2021, APD's response time to domestic violence calls depends on how the information is relayed to dispatch.
We always send at least a minimum of 2 officers, unless it's a report after the fact, like the 2 parties have separated, the victim is making a report, they're somewhere else and there's no danger, then we will just send 1 officer.
Although APD has responded to over 6,000 domestic violence calls every year since 2021, it doesn't always lead to a report or arrest at the time of the incident.
When we get there, there's not actually violence happening. It was an argument, and a lot of people, they get into an argument, they don't know how to resolve that, so their first instinct is to call the police. Or a next door neighbor heard arguing and they were concerned.
In other cases, Burr says the domestic violence detectives get involved and follow up with the victim, suspect, and potential witnesses before presenting evidence to the district attorney.
They decide if there's enough evidence to take charges against this person. Then if they say, yes, there's enough evidence, then they present it to a judge and the judge signs a warrant.
Burr says if you're a witness to domestic violence or suspect that domestic violence is occurring to someone you know, say something.
I'm not saying put yourself in the middle of a domestic violence situation, but I'm saying if you look at them and you're like, that person is in danger, then call. And if you can't call because you're standing right there and it's going to be obvious, you can text 911 in Amarillo.
Burr says a good resource for people experiencing domestic violence in the community is Family Support Services. She adds that from the outside looking in, it's easy to tell victims to just leave, but oftentimes they've been beaten down physically and mentally and need help making a change.